Over 40 farmer representatives have reached Vigyan Bhavan to hold the third round of crucial talks with the central government shortly. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had held two crucial meets with regards to this farmers' protest. The first meeting was attended by Home Minister Amit Shah, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, the Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar and the Food and Public Distribution Minister Piyush Goyal. The second meet was attended by Amit Shah as well as Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. India Today has also accessed the inside track of the Prime Minister's meet. As per sources, the centre could go ahead and say that they're willing to make some proposals in the farm law, some amendments. Government may give written assurance on continuing minimum support price. They may propose a widening role of APMC to strengthen mandis. The government may also impose compulsory registration of private sectors. Along with these, the government may also offer relief over the contentious 1 crore rupee fine for stubble burning and also review the farm electricity law. This even as farmers have toughened their stand. They've announced that they will hold a nationwide protest on 8 December if the government doesn't concede to their demands.
और एक बार फिर तीसरे राउंड की बातचीत के लिए सफेद रंग की बस आपको विज्ञान भवन के सामने भीतर आती नजर आ रही होगी। किसानों के लगातार चल रहे आंदोलन के बाद फर्स्ट राउंड हुआ, सेकंड राउंड हुआ। पिछली बार 7 घंटे लंबी ये मुलाकात चली थी। सिर्फ एक बस नहीं, लगभग 40 संगठन है। दूसरी बस आप देखिए यहाँ पे, हालांकि ये लगभग खाली है क्योंकि सारे नेता एक ही बस में भर के चले गए हैं। कुछ इक्का दुक्का नेता इसमें भी हैं और पुलिस एस्कॉर्ट के साथ ये किसान नेता अब विज्ञान भवन के भीतर अंदर जाते हुए तमाम किसान नेता अब पहुंच गए हैं विज्ञान भवन और यहाँ से शुरू होगी वो फाइनल बातचीत जिसको अमली जामा पहनाने के लिए, जिसको एक जो रार है टकराव उसको खत्म करने के लिए कहीं ना कहीं केंद्र सरकार अब एड़ी चोटी का जोर लगा रही है।
नहीं, देखिए, दरअसल बैठक में जो बात होगी उसी पर भरोसा किया जा सकता है और कुल मिला के मैं तो आशावान हूं कि निश्चित रूप से किसान सकारात्मक दिशा में सोचेंगे और आंदोलन का रास्ता छोड़ेंगे।
सरकार संशोधन करने को तो राजी है, शायद कानून वापस लेने को राजी नहीं। तो क्या आप लोग इस पर राजी हैं?
नहीं, हम तो नहीं राजी अभी।
आप चाहते हैं कानून हटे?
हाँ, बदल जाते हैं, बना लेंगे ना, फिर बना लेंगे, सब मिल बैठ के बना लेंगे
जी।
हाँ।
एक जो शुभा व्यक्त किया जा रहा है कि जिस तरीके से किसान धरने पे बैठ गए सभी बॉर्डरों पे, सिंगू बॉर्डर भी, यूपी का गाजीपुर बॉर्डर भी, तो जो आम जनता है उसको बहुत दिक्कत हो रही है। कहीं ना कहीं लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की सिचुएशन बन सकती है। ये एक शुभा जो है ये बार बार व्यक्त किया जा रहा है।
नहीं, वहाँ तो नहीं, कोई निकल रहे लोग तो हाँ निकल रहे।
लगता है कि शांतिपूर्वक किसान बैठे रहेंगे,
शांतिपूर्ण बैठे रहेंगे,
कोई कानून व्यवस्था की स्थिति
नहीं, कानून क्यों तोड़ेंगे हम? भाई कानून भी हमारा ही है, पुलिस भी हमारा ही है। हम पूर्ण रूप से बहुत शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से लोग बैठे, कोई न्यूसेंस नहीं, कोई गलत तरीके का आदमी हमारे उसमें इंटरफेयर नहीं कर सकता, कोई स्पीसीज नहीं दे सकता, उस पर पूर्ण रूप से सब बैन है।
हम तो तीनों कानून रद्द, बिजली शोध बिल रद्द और एमएसपी जो है वो पूरे देश में जो है वो लागू की जाए लिखित रूप में।
सरकार बदलाव करने के लिए तैयार है, बदलाव पे आप नहीं मानेंगे?
हम बदलाव पर नहीं है, हम बिल्कुल, हम तो जो पहला फैसला किया वो अटल है।
मकसद ये है कानून वापस ले और एमएसपी की गारंटी दे। अच्छा। सजा का प्रावधान।
इससे कम पे आप नहीं मानेंगे?
नहीं, इससे कम।
संशोधन आप कहते हैं कि संशोधन काफी नहीं है?
काफी नहीं है संशोधन। जब उसमें देखो एक चीज है, आज सरकार कह रही है कि संशोधन उसमें करेंगे। संशोधन हम ये कह रहे हैं कि जब इसको किसान को जरूरत ही नहीं है इस चीज की, भाई नुकसान हमारा हो रहा है, आप हमारा फायदा क्यों करवाते हो? जब हम किसान पूरे देश का अड़ा हुआ, हम नहीं चाहते कानून, तो सरकार क्यों जबरदस्ती कानून बना रही है?
Rahul Srivastava, our National Affairs Editor, is joining us live from outside the Vigyan Bhavan in Delhi. Rahul, going by the information we've received really from the Prime Minister's meet with the Home Minister, the Defence Minister, as well as the Agriculture Minister, the government is working on several amendments to the farm laws, and that's going to be the message to the farmers. However, the messaging also seems to be that the government is willing to make any amendments necessary except repeal these farm laws. And the question remains about whether the farmers are okay with that.
Akshita, 2 buses full of farmers, union leaders, nearly 40 of them have just arrived and they have parked outside and they have gone inside for the meeting, and the ministers also have arrived for the meeting. Now this meeting, the ministers are coming to Vigyan Bhavan after a very long drawn meeting with the Prime Minister, and what we are told that the word from the Prime Minister is that the issue needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. There are a couple of fears as far as the government are concerned. One, there is a band on the 8th of December that can lead to nationwide protests and passions, and that can actually create a perception that the bill largely is being opposed all across the country. Second is a clear and imminent danger is that in Haryana, where the government depends on the support of an alliance partner to survive, there the opposition is pushing for a no confidence motion, is plotting a no confidence motion. And that is why the farmers, if you heard all of them, they're upping the ante at the level that no amendments would be acceptable and only the bill's withdrawal will resolve the issue, is not a good news for the government, which has gone in for the next round of talks. Now what we are told that several amendments have been prepared, say with the APMC Act, as far as essential commodities stock limits are concerned, as far as the dispute resolution are concerned, the government is ready to do all that. But the fact remains that farmers are saying these are piecemeal solutions. Last night at the meeting of the unions of the farmers, nearly 60 of them, when they sat down, we are told by our sources that there were several farm unions which were saying that let's end the protest if the government agrees to certain amendments. But then there was a sense of majority from Punjab and other states which said no, till the bills are withdrawn, we will not be ending our protest. That has led to a hardening of stance, and the kind of congenial atmosphere we saw, that certain amount of softening on Thursday, I think that has disappeared yet again. So I think that the government has to go back to the drawing board and start all over again.
You know, going by what you say, Rahul, does seem like perhaps today as well the talks will be inconclusive. But you're mentioning to us how some farmer unions seemed okay and open to just accepting these amendments. Do you think the government is perhaps pinning their hopes on that perhaps, you know, these protests will scale down because some farm unions could concede, could agree to this solution really from the government, and then it's only a few farm unions who are protesting?
See, Akshita, the word is that a large number actually weighed on those who were saying that let's end the protest if the government agrees to amendments. Now, if you see the first round of talks onwards, both the sides had, it seems, taken maximalistic positions that farmers were saying, scrap the bills, nothing else. The government was saying bills will not be scrapped, MSP no inclusion in the statute, rest we are ready to talk about. By taking a maximalistic position, what they have done is that they have increased their ground, they have tried to increase their ground for bargaining. Now farmers, when they talked about repealing the bill, they have extracted the promise that the government, which was saying earlier no amendments, is now agreeing to amendments. The government, by pushing for saying that no MSP, is creating a ground in which the farmers, some unions are talking about, okay, the government is ready to amend the bill, so maybe let's go. I think that is creating perhaps a better ground for convergence as far as the two sides are concerned. But I still say that till there is a better assurance on the MSP, something which is a respectable exit for the farm unions, I think it will be a very, very difficult situation for the government. Because remember, the farm unions have to answer to the farmers. They have brought them to a protest here. There is a hype that has been created. There is an expectation which prevails, and in that scenario, if the unions go back with some piecemeal solution or some non-tangible solution outcomes of the meeting, I think they will lose credibility, and that will be a very bad situation, Akshita, because these farm unions are the ones which are controlling the large number of farmers. Once they lose credit among these farmers, then there might be a sense of lack of control as far as the protesting farmers are concerned.
So in a sense, there's also a lot of pressure on these farm unions to come good on their promise and to ensure that somehow these protests end on a positive note, that they get what they want. We're also beaming visuals for you from the Vigyan Bhavan, where you can see that the farmer union leaders have now sat down ready for the dialogue with the government. In the last two rounds, we've seen this going on for quite some time. It hasn't been just a talk that's gone on for about 1 hour. It's gone on for hours together, and then unfortunately it's emerged to be inconclusive. This time around, with the government going ahead and showing that they're a lot more flexible, talking about a lot more amendments, how will that change really the talks that happen at the Vigyan Bhavan? Will the farmers be open-minded to some of these reforms, or are they going to stick to their one-track demand, which is to go ahead and repeal all these farm laws, and then there's no question of any other demand or any amendment? Anand Patel is also with us. Anand, Rahul Rahul was mentioning how there is some pressure on these farmer unions as well to come good on, of course, their demands to ensure that there is some good news also for farmers after these protests. But as far as the government is concerned, there's no doubt there's a lot more pressure on the government to end this protest. You know, things have been heating up at the borders of Delhi. These farmer unions have been talking about now a nationwide demonstration as well. Opposition parties are also upping the ante.
Well, absolutely. You know, it's trouble all the way for the centre, for the BJP as well. It's been losing allies after allies. You know, starting from Shiromani Akali Dal to now the RLP, and the latest, as Rahul was mentioning, in Haryana also a crisis of sorts is developing, with the JJP leaders now mounting a pressure on Dushyant Chautala that he should also pitch in for the farmers' demand. So that is creating trouble for them in Haryana as well. And also on the farmers' front, the protest is growing day by day. The manner in which the government was trying to linger on the talks and tire the farmer unions so that they agree to a compromise, early compromise, that is not working. And clearly, you see the number of unions and organizations which are rallying behind the farmer organizations is growing every day. You see farmers from Punjab and Haryana already there at Singhu border and Tikri border. Now farmers from Rajasthan are marching towards Delhi. Farmers from Madhya Pradesh are also marching in. UP farmers have already blocked Ghazipur. So this protest is growing each day. That is the biggest worry for the government, and that is the reason why we see the government in the fourth round of meeting offering 3 amendments, and has now also gone ahead and agreed to 3 more amendments, which are the watering down of the stubble burning law, and also the electricity amendment bill, in which the farmers were to pay upfront money to the private discoms. And also the government is saying that the private companies which purchase out of the APMCs will also have to register themselves. So clearly the government has increased the ambit of its amendments and concessions which they were offering to the farmers from the 4th round to now the 5th round. It remains to be seen as to whether the farmers will accept it, because the farmers cannot accept anything less than repealing the law, because they are answerable to the farmers who are sitting at the borders. So the leaders have a big responsibility. They cannot go back, they cannot backtrack on the amendments, and they will have to demand from the government that repealing the laws is the only solution to this standoff.
And from all the voices that you, Anand, and several of our other correspondents have gotten us from the ground, is that the farmers are not happy with even these amendments that the centre is talking about. As we beam those visuals for you from the Vigyan Bhavan, let me also tell you that the meeting is yet to begin formally. The discussions yet to kick off there, and expected to go on for at least a few hours for really some sort of outcome for us to see if this is conclusive or not. Rahul, in the face of the fact that these farmers seem to be very, very adamant, they're saying that amendments are not enough, we need these laws to be repealed. Do you think that there's any circumstance in which the centre will actually consider that?
Akshita, I have followed Modi government from day one, and the only time when the Narendra Modi government actually took a back foot on a law was the land acquisition bill, when the protests spread all across the country and the entire political landscape seemed to have turned against the government's decision to create the new methodology for land acquisition. The government at that time had said that this is the best thing which can happen in terms of acquisition of land for infrastructure and other projects, and it will bring about a great reform. But then such was the vehemence of the protest that the government had to backtrack, and today we know that the bill, no one knows that in which cold storage it is lying. It's not that it is just in a cold storage. The fact is that the government is, I think, playing a wait and watch game. I think it is talking through the back channels to several people, chief ministers and others, and those chief ministers are talking to their own farm challenge. I think the government's clear and present challenge is how to keep this current siege around Delhi non-violent, one, and escalation in that. And the second is not to let it become a nationwide phenomena. If it does, then I think the government may have a rethink. But till that happens, I don't think Narendra Modi government has displayed in the past any willingness to go about to repealing a law as such. But yes, what I can tell you that today this meeting with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Rajnath Singh, senior minister in the government, usually brought in when there is a trouble brewing for the government, Narendra Singh Tomar, Piyush Goyal and others. That meeting does indicate one thing, that there is a greater understanding within the government that now the Prime Minister's endorsement is needed for some serious changes as far as the bills are concerned. One, the amendments which we have been talking about, nearly 9 of them are already on the discussion table. And then second important element is that some important signal is expected as far as the MSP is concerned. If not inclusion in the statute, but my sources are saying, don't rule out some major move by the government as far as the MSP issue is concerned. It could well be including many more commodities. Right now there are just 24 of them, there are just 7 cereals, but there could well be a move by the government to bring more commodities under the MSP umbrella, because that will send out a signal that how serious the government is as far as the MSP issue is concerned. But right now we can't commit anything. These are just what sources are saying.
But Rahul, you know, when again I want to focus on the option of repealing the farm laws, what do you think hurts the BJP and not the government here politically? The optics of going ahead and repealing a law that they so firmly backed, or the fact that, or the optics really of them not going ahead and catering to these farmers' demands?
See, usually, Akshita, a bill is brought at one. Usually, most of the bills are brought with an intent, with a political intent. When the government brought in this bill, its intent was to capture or create a constituency among the largest voting constituency in the country, that is the farmers. Nearly 67% of India eventually is farm or farm related. And that's where the Prime Minister took the campaign too far. If you recall, just a few days back on the banks of Ganga in Varanasi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the intent behind this bill is as pure as the waters of the river Ganga. He backed it to the hilt, and he talked about it in the election campaign in Bihar, at several other places, that this bill is a win-win for the farmers. Now, having taken that kind of a position, to retract back from there, one will empower the opposition. You see, a lot of the points on which the government today is backtracking or is ready to create an amendment are the very ones that the government had disagreed with the opposition in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Most of these points, be it APMC, essential commodity stock limits, the dispute resolution mechanism, and several others, were contested by the opposition in Parliament. The government used the numbers to smother them and said, no, this bill in its current form is perfect. Now the government is agreeing to amendments. That already will be kind of leaving some kind of body marks, as far as body blows as far as the government is concerned. Repealing will be a very serious blow, because the opposition will say, see, we were saying bill is wrong, this government is anti-farmer, and anti-farmer is one tag which the government has been trying to avoid since that Sood Boot Ki Sarkar comment that Rahul Gandhi made. If you see after that, there have been a slew of schemes. I think every scheme, the target is the poor and the farmer. And that's why I say repealing is something that the government will keep it, I think, something beyond the last option.
You know, the Prime Minister has spoken so very often about these farm reforms. He's tried to set the record straight, saying there's no question of this harming our farmers. And yet you see these protests. So there will be questions about whether the government's attempt to really put out facts with regards to this law has also largely not really cut any ice with those who are protesting, who've maintained that this doesn't help. So there will be questions also about the kind of messaging, whether it was enough really what the government did.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.